The Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's famous, it's a bell tower, and it leans. This iconic structure has fascinated people for centuries with its unintended tilt. Construction began in 1173. The ambitious project was meant to showcase the grandeur of Pisa. The tower sits on soft ground. This was a critical oversight. The ground is mostly clay. Clay compresses under weight. This caused the foundation to shift. The foundation was not strong enough. It couldn't support the weight of the tower. One side began to sink. This uneven settling led to the tower's famous lean. The tower started to lean. Builders tried to compensate. They added more material to the higher side. They made the upper floors taller on one side. This was an attempt to balance the structure. This made the tower curved, but it still leaned. The adjustments were not enough. The tower was finally completed in the 1300s. It was already leaning. Despite the lean, it stood tall. Over the centuries, the lean got worse. The weight and soft ground continued to affect it. By the late 20th century, the tower was in danger of collapsing. Engineers had to step in to save this historic monument. In 1990, the Italian government closed the tower to the public. It was too dangerous. The iconic Leaning Tower of Pisa, a marvel of medieval engineering, was at risk of collapsing. The tilt had become so severe that it posed a significant threat to both visitors and the structure itself. Engineers were called in. They needed to find a way to stabilize the tower. The task was daunting, as they had to preserve the historical integrity of the monument while ensuring its safety. First, they needed to understand the problem. The engineers meticulously studied the tower's structure and the soil it stood on. They drilled into the ground. This allowed them to gather crucial data about the soil composition and its behavior under the weight of the tower. They took samples of the soil. These samples were analyzed to understand why the ground was shifting and causing the tower to lean. They used computers to create models of the tower. These models simulated various scenarios to predict how the tower would react to different stabilization techniques. The engineers found that the tower was very close to its tipping point. The margin for error was incredibly small, and any miscalculation could lead to disaster. They needed to act quickly. Time was of the essence, and the engineers had to implement a solution before the tower's condition worsened. As a temporary measure, they installed steel cables around the tower. These cables were designed to provide immediate support and prevent further tilting. These cables were anchored to the ground. The anchoring ensured that the cables could bear the weight and tension required to stabilize the tower. The cables would help to hold the tower up. This was a critical step in preventing the immediate risk of collapse. They also added lead counterweights to the base of the tower. These weights were strategically placed to counterbalance the lean. The counterweights would help to balance the tower. By offsetting the tilt, the engineers could reduce the stress on the structure. This stabilized the tower, but it was not a permanent solution. The engineers knew that more work was needed to ensure the long-term preservation of this historic landmark. Engineers considered many different ideas for permanently straightening the tower. One idea was to pump concrete into the ground under the leaning side. Another idea was to freeze the ground under the tower. This would make the ground stronger. Some engineers suggested anchoring the tower to the bedrock far below the surface. But there were problems with all of these ideas. Some were too risky, some were too expensive, and some would have damaged the tower. The engineers needed to find a solution that was safe, affordable, and effective. Finally, after countless hours of brainstorming and testing, the engineers came up with a groundbreaking plan. They called it under-excavation, a method that had never been tried on such a scale before. The plan was to very carefully and methodically remove small amounts of soil from under the north side of the tower. This required precision and patience. They used special drills to create small tunnels under the foundation. These drills were designed to minimize any vibrations that could further destabilize the structure. Then, they carefully removed the soil from the tunnels, ensuring that each extraction was done with the utmost care to avoid any sudden shifts. As they meticulously removed the soil, the tower slowly began to straighten. It was a delicate balance requiring constant monitoring and adjustments. The work was slow and delicate, with engineers often working in shifts around the clock to ensure the process was continuous and stable. It took several years to complete this monumental task. The engineers faced numerous challenges, but their dedication never wavered. By 2001, the tower had been straightened by an impressive 45 centimeters, or 17.7 inches. This was a significant achievement. The tower was no longer in immediate danger of collapsing. The engineers' hard work had paid off. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is still standing today, a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of those who worked on it. It is a popular tourist attraction, drawing millions of visitors from around the world who marvel at its unique tilt and history. And it is a testament to the ingenuity of engineers, a symbol of what can be achieved with determination, innovation, and teamwork.